Well, that was an entrance,
Yes, I
Miss
like.
Brooke.
I turned my fan on. I was like, it's like stuffy in here. I gotta turn the fan on or something. So I did that really quick. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome in. It's another week of CLCI Live.
Yes,
Our
indeed.
last week of marketing.
Yes, last
Yay.
week we talked about content strategy you need to know. This final week we are talking about everything you need to know about keeping your clients. We've already assumed you got them. You followed all of our other marketing tips. You have clients, but how do you keep them?
Before we start, though, let's talk a little bit about make sure everybody knows that's watching to please join in the conversation. We want to hear from you. And also hit that subscribe button. The only way we know we're doing a good job is if you smash that subscribe button. That comment,
Smash it.
the likes as well help. But really hit that subscribe. Do it right now.
Do it now.
And then now that the peer pressure moment is over, we can go into our topic. I do want to clarify something before we go fully dive into this conversation right now, because I know we as coaches are supposed to be coaching ourselves to a point where our clients no longer need us. So what are we talking about when we say, client retention, client relationship management, etc.?
Well, when I went into this, thinking like you booked one session with a client. It's cool. Coaching doesn't really happen in one. I mean, it happens in one session, but like the results of a coaching relationship tend to happen over a period of months, for what we could tell from ICF research. So the idea is, how do you keep somebody interested in coaching and interested in developing, the relationship and the results that come from coaching, for a longer period of time, is what I imagine we're talking about, given that we should coach our clients to the point where they don't need us anymore.
Usually not just one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also, your clients can be coached on different things. If you have a client who likes coaching with you, you've got your niche. You're the underwater basket weaving coach. It's super specific niche, and you've coached your client on that for 6 months. They might end up just liking you as a coach for other topics that might be going on in their life. I don't see an issue with continuing the coaching relationship as long as you feel, comfortable as a coach on whatever topics they bring up. So that might be another way to retain clients.
Yeah, I think it's also, it's also, it may not be even, maybe it's keeping them interested in what you're putting out there in your content. Maybe you decide to have new offerings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. And maybe it's also, you have only had a few sessions, but you want to keep them coming back to have more sessions with you, and they're, it's not done with the work. So these are all those kind of best practices. Or let's say you have group coaching. So how do you keep those group coaching clients coming back to your next group coaching event, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
It's also just I think, I always feel like this feels like common sense, but then I realize sometimes the common sense things are the things we overlook. So, so we've all done a lot of research here. Let's answer this question. How do we keep our clients?
Wait, before we go there, should I ask why retaining your clients is important as opposed to maybe just garnering? There you go.
Wait, before we even get into that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to say hi to Sue. I want to say hi to Sue and Steve. Thank you for joining
Hi,
us.
Sue and Steve.
Oh, there's Steve. I thought he wasn't here.
Okay, back to Jerome's question.
All right,
Okay.
Jerome, what were you saying?
Back to what I was doing.
Just wondering what the importance of retaining clients is, as opposed to just maybe getting brand new clients.
For those of you who are listening to this in podcast form, I'm rubbing my fingers together to show money.
That was not helpful for those who are just listening.
Well, I told them.
One of the things that I heard in the research was that it is easier to retain clients that you already have than it is to attract new ones. And I was curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, duh.
That seems
Yeah.
pretty reasonable to me.
Okay.
I mean, the whole giant hurdle that most people are leaping over in the there's several, but a big one when getting clients and starting to garner clients in business is building trust, right? Is this big relationship build of trust. And it's not just trust in you as a coach, but it's trust in coaching, and it's trust in the value of coaching. So it's not just the hurdle of them picking you, but it's also the hurdle of people realizing that coaching is beneficial and it is something they want to do, and it does have value in their lives. So if you have an option of choosing between a pool of people that already have the understanding that coaching is beneficial and coaching with you can be beneficial, and choosing from people who have no clue about any of that, where are you going to choose from, right? Like, what if you're going to give me 50 people that have no idea what coaching is, and 50 people that know what coaching is, not even know that what coaching is with me, but know that coaching is beneficial, and I'm going to get to pick who my clients are. Okay, maybe the masochist in me that that is like a super overachiever and wants to convert the world might maybe choose, but I'm going to go into it knowing that's going to be exponentially harder work, and I'm probably going to get a lot less converted.
Spread a whole lot thinner.
Yes. I mean, I would think that, probably 1 in 100, 1 in 10 you're looking at, right? Possibly that might be still guessing real nice. So the other one already we know that they're into it. So your odds of bringing them in to do something with you and work with you are so much higher. You also know that they for the most part like what you're putting out, or are picking up what you're putting down, hopefully to some degree. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Any other reasons
Why we would want to retain clients?
Well, yeah.
They already like our services. They already know what we're doing.
Well, hopefully they do.
Yeah.
If they do, it makes things a whole lot smoother. If you have more offerings. Also, the reason why, like, the most difficult part is getting the lead's contact information to begin with. Like, to get that initial email subscription, some way that a person gets in your funnel. Ideally, you already have this person's email, so you could now have just an easier way to just send them an email, updating on your offerings or whatever it is.
Steve brings up a great point. They already know too that you already know that you guys kind of work well together, right? You guys, there's already this positive relationship, this back and forth going on. So you're nurturing a good relationship. You're just making a good thing better, right? In a perfect world. The other flip side of that, I was thinking too, is we would like these people to tell other people about us, to leave a good taste in their mouths, just to this extends beyond just keeping clients. It's client relationship management, and that means there's so much more to it. I think we'll dive a little more into that as we go through this, but it's, you want them to leave you good reviews. You want, and all
testimonials.
Just all of these things that we do in this realm of CRM, of client relationship management, is really, I think, is that's the icing on the cake. That's what takes a good product and makes it a great product. That's what takes somebody who buys your services once and makes sure they buy them every single time. And I think that happens in this CRM world. That happens in making their experience the best possible experience, not just in the coaching space, but outside the coaching space. All right.
I
know Lisa's passionate about this.
I know I likened it to dating, right? Or creating a healthy relationship. That's what we're talking about. just in the business side of things. We are creating a connection that builds connection and gets into the deeper piece of, I mean, we're talking about business here, but it gets into the deeper piece of what that relationship means.
So it's like treating your customer relation as like dating. You've got the girlfriend or boyfriend, and now you got to figure out how to keep the girlfriend or boyfriend.
Or having
Maybe
friends.
as a coach, you get to date your clients as well.
No,
No,
that
okay.
is not what I'm saying.
Never mind. It's not the same, but it is a good metaphor then.
Oh goodness. Oh
It is
goodness
good.
gracious. My.
When you think of a relationship, a healthy relationship, what's involved in there? It's setting down communication. It's building the trust. It's building respect. All of that is part of keeping a client base and growing that. The courtship never ends. Yeah, exactly. Keeping that client base interested and valued, feeling valued.
So I just want to ask you guys, how do you, looking at all of the industries out there, and I know customer service has gone down the tubes in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and that's very, very important to us. Go ahead.
Compared to what it used to be to how it is now, in a lot of ways, we've gotten a lot more impatient about things, but a lot more, I think, patient too, or used to just not talking to a human being if something breaks or having to wait or like, you know what I mean? Like we've just become more okay with that because we know because of technology that it's not always a quick fix. But on the other hand, we can expect it the other way. But how do you guys think in the scheme of customer relationship management and just all of in this subject, how do you think coaches do? What has your experience been?
Like, how would I rate coaches?
Yeah, what do you think how well do you think they're doing with their customer relationship management?
It's going to depend on the coach, I would say. We've got a pretty big pendulum swing we could see.
I think they have a lot to work on.
Jen, when you started, what was your expectation of customer service before we said what we said?
I guess I was thinking that I needed to be available 24/7. Not literally 24/7, but you know what I mean? And I've come to realize that the access that I give in between sessions, I build that into my price. And I like to give people access to me in between sessions. So
And that's a good answer to the question, although I was thinking about CLCI when you started with us.
Oh, okay.
Stop being so self-centered, Jen.
Good. Okay. So
no, but that's a great answer because coaches, you have to evaluate your time and energy, and value is important that you're earning your necessary fees. Anyway,
coaches, don't give it up for free. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
So Lisa, you're asking what was my take on our customer service at CLCI?
yes. Do you remember?
I mean, I thought that everyone was so like genuine and authentic, and just it seemed like everyone had the space to just be themselves, but everyone was also very friendly and knowledgeable and fun. And I thought, perfect, I'll fit right in.
And then
Back to being self-centered.
As you're fitting in part of the learning curve, I think that possibly you went through is that you had expectation that you needed to turn around quickly each of the calls.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the learning that happened from that?
That you wanted me to give them all of the attention and answer all of their questions and really leave them feeling like we provided that level of customer service that other schools aren't. And that definitely gets mentioned to me a lot of times at the end of the calls, especially if someone's been shopping. They'll say, okay, well, this call just did it for me because
So-
I haven't had anyone talk to me like this. You've answered all of my questions, and I couldn't get half of my questions answered on my other calls. So
I just want to bring up highlight some things that might be different for me as a coach in that space. I mean, not that it's a good practice for me to get on the phone and answer everybody's questions. That is fantastic customer relationship management, right? To be available and be willing to do that. Where it gets muddy is Jen's getting paid hourly by us to do that. And so we can say to Jen, hey, Jen, whoever you're talking to is the most important person in the world on the phone. Like, that's all. They're the only thing that matters in that moment. Answer their questions. That is important. And I think that we can adopt that to coaches as well. But one of the things that we're always cautioning coaches to do is to limit that free time that you're giving up. So learning when you're doing these discovery calls, sort of what the difference between sitting on the phone and answering questions relating to coaching is, and actually starting to coach somebody, and starting to sort of build boundaries around what needs to happen, where that is, because it can start to feel gray. Do I just start coaching this person? Do I wait? But if I coach them right now, will that get them to buy my full hour? And all of these scary things happen where we have to just start to limit our time with people and just stick to questions relating to getting into that coaching space. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think there's conflicting advice out there in the coaching world, because one of the books that I read coming off a certification was like, give people your everything, give it to them free. Let them see how good it is. Let them, see how valuable it is.
Why buy the coach when you can get the coaching for free?
Well, okay, so then you have the people that will say the opposite. And so as a new coach, I was like, well, what the hell? Which one is right? And so I had to figure out for me what was right for me and what feels best for me. I wouldn't advise either way. I would say you got to feel that one out, and you got to also like experiment and test, like what are your results from giving it all away for free versus having a conversation where the person feels seen and heard, but you don't coach them. You can do that too. So
yeah.
Most
Also,
of my client calls, I spent on the phone 5 minutes, really most of them. Now and again, there was more time, but not often. It became for me just to answer whatever questions, maybe build a little bit of rapport, and then let the call go. They're either wanting your services or they're not. In that investigation with you, they're getting a sense of who you are. That's only part of what's going on in those calls, right?
Yeah.
This keeps popping up in front of my face.
And there's a big difference. There's a big difference again between answering questions, going over something they fill out on a form, finding out if you guys are the right fit for each other, hopping on a 15-minute call, 5-minute call, 10-minute call, doing something like that, and then not getting into that coaching work. And I know there are people who want to give the coaching work up for free, that, or whatever. I'm the one that's always the one that says, please don't do that. No, because you can't. How do you differentiate in your data, in your tracking, who is going to pay you and who isn't? Because there's no way to do that. So you don't know how much time you're going to waste, how many calls you're going to put. But if you have all the time in the world, then do that. Go for it. Like, I'm always, whenever I had clients in this space, I would recommend they charge a small amount of fee. They do group coaching, and then they upsell from group coaching, and the group coaching has a baseline low cost. And but I know there are some people that have a tremendous success doing that first session for free.
Yeah. And that's why there's no hard, fast rule. It's like, you've got to experiment with it, and you've got to see what works for you. I mean, what Sue says there. Yeah, of course, that's going to happen, But at some point you do have to weigh, like, what is that costing you if you always do your business that way, if you always offer free. For some people it might work, for some people it's not going to work at all.
And there might be windows of time where you go, okay, I'm doing X free sessions, get in now, build some
Exactly.
scarcity.
So here comes the not so fun part and not so sexy part of customer relations management.
Yeah.
You have to track this information somehow. You have to figure out a way that you can accurately track the data on, I did a free session with this person. Did this lead to a conversion? If so, how much was the conversion? And how much is my time? Is this billable? How much money am I losing by having these free sessions? And by looking at that data, and this is just for a very specific example, you can figure out if one strategy is working for you or not, just based on money alone, money and time alone. And when you asked that question, Brooke, earlier about like, how do I think coaches are doing in terms of CRM? I'm not seeing a whole lot on the data side of things, or like rigorous ways of keeping track of data and doing something with that data. That's where I think a lot of the difficulty comes with this, because we can say all these like wonderful bits of advice, like, make valuable content, email them with new offerings, but like, who do you know to email? If you've got a list of, for example, us, like thousands of people, and maybe over the course of your coaching career, maybe you'll coach over like 1,000 people or, 5,000 different people, depending on what you're doing. How do you know even who to email from that list? You got to keep track of that data somehow and find out what's valuable. So that would be my approach, but I'm also like a very data-driven guy and process-driven guy.
The number of times I've had marketing sessions with people and I've brought them in and I've been like, okay, who have you been coaching? What has worked for you? What has, and they just don't know, right? And not because, this is people who have had experience, and it's just that they haven't taken the time to just sort of put it in one place and look at it and treat it like, and this is something that often gets overlooked. And again, it's easy to do when we get wrapped up in all these other things, but to sit down and go, okay, who is this person? Why did they hire me? What got them to hire me? How much money did they make? And sort of know what is working for you and what is who the people are that it's working for.
Mm-hmm. How does this person prefer to be contacted? Like, are their emails bouncing, or like they're not even clicking, versus when I call them on the phone, now I can have like a conversation with
Big
them.
question. Yeah, that's a wonderful question to be asked. How do you want to be contacted? Text, phone, or, email, or if you have rules specific to that way, communicating that to your client. This is how I communicate. This is what I do. All of these little things, like even how easy it is to book a session with you, and get that on the books. Even asking your client at the end of your hour, when are we going to schedule our next session? When do you want to be? Let's get that on a calendar. That is a way to keep your client coming back, right? These are all, because it's simplifying this process of and keeping your client happy. So we're talking. We've talked a little bit about that very beginning, getting your clients in the door. Let's talk about keeping them happy once they're there. How do we do that? And this is obviously, we're not talking about what happens in the coaching space. We're talking about everything outside of the coaching container. Yeah.
I was about to go into that in the coaching container one, because I've got a controversial opinion on that, but we'll stick for outside of the coaching container.
Okay. And then we can.
How do we keep them happy? Being consistent, for one. Being consistent, what emails you send, your invoicing and payments, having a consistent agreement to refer back to, is probably the most important thing to establishing a relationship, is having agreement where we're both on the same terms. We understand if X happens, then the coach does Y. And if client does X, then we respond Y in certain situations. Steve asked customer loyalty program. That could be one. Get X up. If you do X amount of sessions, your 10th one is free. Things like that. Or a referral program as well.
Yeah.
I think in that same space, you want to be careful not to overpromise too, especially like with that client coach agreement, because it's always better to underpromise, right? And then to overachieve when it comes to your client. So just be careful. You don't have all the time in the world or the energy, so you want to make sure, even when you're writing maybe that contract, just for instance, it's important to keep in mind that you do have your limits, and once those are broken with your client, it can devalue some trust there, and not what.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what the agreement. It's so critical. It's managing expectation too, right? Where we're going to sit down. I'm going to tell you what coaching is, what coaching isn't. I'm going to that clarity right there, right? Now everybody's on the same page. I'm getting what I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm paying for. It's so important. And you bringing up that agreement, it's huge. Within that agreement, having what happens when somebody has to reschedule with you, when they get charged when that happens, if they get charged when that happens, having an easy way for them to reschedule. All of these things become critical in the making it a smooth process for your client. And yeah, a lot of that is laid out in your contract, if not all or most. So critical. Fantastic point. Thorough contract.
Another one with consistency, I think, is showing up on time, coming to the session prepared, presentation.
But what does prepared mean?
Meaning that you have reflected on any notes that you have taken. You know where you left off last session. You're not coming in and saying, okay, catch me up. I don't remember where we left off. No. You come in as, you're the leader of the space. Like, where you left off and you're going to follow up about it. Mm-hmm. And then also too, I just think presentation. I have this experience that totally changed me. I came to a session one time without giving myself enough time to put myself together. And I had my hair in a messy bun and I had no makeup on. And my client asked if I was okay. And my first thought was, oh no, this is not okay. Like, you would never ask this to a man. And then I'm like, no, stop. What is the truth here? The truth is that you didn't come to the session prepared. The client is noticing that you showed up different. It's nothing to be offended about. It's nothing to make like, oh, it's a woman thing. No, it's like you came to the session different than you normally do. And this client was just doing their due diligence to make sure you're okay. And once I reframed it to understand that it was totally my responsibility, how I showed up to my session, it changed everything. So from that point on, there has to be at least a little bit of makeup. There has to be at least a little bit of trying. I won't allow myself to show up that disheveled ever again.
Well, I mean, a video filter can take care of that. But I think that can be. I think you're right, Jen, and I think that can be extended to being professional and not forgetting that you are a professional. You are running a business and you are delivering a service. And you might, as a coach, feel like you can be lax around, your clients who you've known for a while. Mm-hmm. Don't get too comfortable and don't let that fool you. Like, there's a money exchange going on for services. You might joke around a lot with your client. You might, feel fine showing up a little disheveled one day, wearing your Cookie Monster pajamas. I don't know, but there's still a money transaction, and the client has an expectation that they're paying a professional. So show up as a professional. Don't get too complacent.
Can I add? So this is actually like a flex that I see in the coaching world, at least for women, like busy women with, they're juggling like their family life, and it's a flex for them to show up totally just like fresh out of the shower, like just I'm telling you, I've seen
The
it.
coach or the client?
The coach, and they act like it is, I can get away with it. My clients accept me just as I am. They don't care. And I'm like, maybe, but also maybe the client is kind of thinking, I'm paying this person $200 an hour, and this person can't even like take a second to just
Be ready.
Right.
right. And so I think sometimes when I see that flex, I'm like, I don't know if that's the flex you think it is.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that go through me. Like, I mean, it's about just like acting like you care.
And just a little. I'm not even saying you have to be like fully put together, but just like minimally.
Well,
Well,
we're talking about like how you look a lot, but I'm also want to get into like how you act professionally. Like, crass jokes. This depends on the client to client, but like, don't be the one to initiate. Oh, I'm comfortable, so I'm going to say this. I'm going to push the boundary of our coaching relationship when the client hasn't done that on their own.
Jen, can I ask you a question about something that happened that you shared with us that is related to a service provider of yours that you were having that you like, it left you feeling like, I don't know if this person is professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the specific incidents because there's been several, but
it was the Chloe related one that you just had recently, and it was not, you weren't even in a coaching container, but you just had
Chloe's your dog.
Yes.
A service provider.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. A service provider, not a coach. But this person who I am paying a lot of money for their professional expertise.
Yeah. I remember that.
They just kind of started to unload about their drama in their business. And it really caught me off guard because I was like, okay, can we focus on my dog? Like, what is going on here? Why are we talking about, how your employees don't show up or they don't do what they're supposed to do? And it was very bizarre to me. It really made me question, do I want to keep giving this person money as like an expert, as a professional, because they showed up in a way that wasn't professional at all. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, to be honest with you.
I bring that up because I could see it being very easy for in that your first few minutes before you've started that coaching container, for a coach who's had a day where clients aren't showing up, clients aren't paying, clients are canceling, clients are canceling at the last minute, where there's all these things that are going wrong in their business or in their life, and they come in and they bring that in with them and they say something like, I love you so much. You're such an awesome client. All of my other clients right now are just crap. They're being difficult. They're doing, and I could see if you have been with the same client for a long time and feel like you have some rapport, something like that exchange happening, but it may not work to your benefit, right? That is something you probably want to share with your friends and family and not with the person paying you for your time that you're sitting in a room with them that they're paying for you.
Yes. Because the message it sends is that if you're going to talk that way about other people, that means you would talk that way about me if I wasn't like, on my best behavior, potentially, like as your client. If that's how you talk about your other clients, I better watch it because you might talk about me like that. At least that's what I would think.
It's like, feels like there's some boundary flex there that shouldn't be, like, and that, or for me, I would feel uncomfortable. I would just feel wow, that's crazy.
Steve.
I've had some funny cleaning lady moments too, though. I've had some weird cleaning lady moments as well, where I was like, you're way too comfortable right now. Like, what is going on?
They should be watching our marketing.
I will say, I also had a coach one time show up, and she was on a walk. She was exercising while she was coaching me. And I was a brand new client, so I had no knowledge of like what's normal. And so I'm just like, maybe this is just how she does her business. Like, as long as she can coach me, I don't really see what the problem is. But like, now that I'm a coach, no. We need like full attention. And unless that had been agreed upon prior to the session,
Like, I'm the
That's
walking coach.
Yeah.
I walk while I coach.
Let's walk together and coach. Like, it's a
Yeah,
health
like-
benefit while we
Yeah.
coach. Like, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
I could see like
I've done that. I've done that.
if it
Yeah.
had been established beforehand and I had consented to that, then it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even given the option. It was like, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm outside. I'm doing my walk while we coach, and I'm just like,
That wasn't
paying you $150 though. Like, can I
undivided
get?
attention. That's all.
Yeah.
So I guess we can summarize this as like, I think those kind of lifestyles that you were talking about, like, you know, I just got out of the shower, like that might be what attracts a certain type of person to coaching or opening their own business in the first place, because they're like, this is easy. Like, I can just,
Right.
as long as I have an internet connection and audio, I can do whatever I want, live the lifestyle I want. But like, that's a trap to
Yeah.
fall into. You have to treat this as a professional business if you want, you know, a consistent client relationship and to be able to keep your clients, because they might not be jiving with that like you are.
They're going to have an expectation. They are. And so that's where this circling back, communicate those.
Yeah, and set your expectations too, like in your marketing. Like if you are marketing yourself as the walking, showering coach, and you're getting clients from that, by all means, keep doing that. It's working for you somehow. But if you haven't set that expectation from the very beginning in your marketing and your advertising, don't do that. It's not really going to be helpful for your clients, and it's not going to help you in the long run.
So circling to it's sort of a new topic, because I feel like we've beat this one down.
Yeah.
We've got it pretty figured out here. Then I think there's some ways that are lesser thought of, or things that maybe we don't think about as much, or maybe we think about it when we're trying to get our clients, but we don't think about how it might affect the clients once we have them. And that, I think, is keeping your branding and messaging consistent, I think, is important, even while for your clients that are already present in coaching with you. Because if you as a coach all of a sudden take a 360, we're back at the start, a 180 in our marketing, right? And we're all of a sudden shifting to a new thing, and I'm your old client that used to coach with you on other things, I'm going to be wondering, do you still want to coach with me? All of a sudden my content, the content you're putting out is probably not going to resonate with me as much. All of these things are going to start to affect how I feel about you and your brand and how I fit into your brand. If you make a sudden change, don't expect that sudden changes might affect the clients you already have.
Can I put a caveat onto that?
Yeah.
We're not saying you shouldn't do that, but you should make a very informed decision about that. And you should have a clear idea of like, what is the return on investment on pivoting? Because there might be an argument to be made. Like this is an emerging market. I could get a lot more clients and a lot more business by pivoting. Here are the reasons why I think so. And here's how I will know if my pivot worked. That's a very different story from, well, I just kind of want to change what I'm doing, and to hell with my old clients. I'm going to just change what I'm doing.
So I want to
That's
add to that, Anthony, because it's a great point. There are lots of coaches that do make that pivot, but they do it because they personally change. That's not because that their business needs. They've gone through personal development, and in their personal development, they keep rotating or pivoting on what they think their niche is.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that, if you change and pivot 10 times, you're losing people in every pivot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not garnering more people, and you're not keeping the ones you already have, because you have to have a fresh start every time. And the ones that you have developed some sort of connection and rapport with go,
Do I belong here anymore? Do I trust this coach?
What's going on here? This feels weird, right? We get into labeling that kind of behavior because it doesn't feel authentic to us anymore. It's not what we originally as a client thought we were part of. So the community doesn't feel like a community anymore. I don't have that connection anymore. And this is all what we've been talking about
This isn't resonating.
in today's discussion is how do we build and keep those connections? So be very cautious in your business development. When you do make those pivots, it's got to make sense to those that you currently serve as well as those that you hope to serve in the future.
Someone that comes to mind is like examples that I think a lot of people can identify with is like Twitter and Reddit and the pivots they've made that have like alienated a lot of their users. And like any social media, when it like pivots suddenly, it just drops. The usership, the amount of people will just leave the site, and sometimes they don't recover from it. Just a real life examples I'm thinking of right now where pivots don't really pan out too well.
I'll tell you, yeah, there's a lot. Or just an unwillingness to pivot can change your business too, but it can go both ways. But that, I mean, it's something in what we do here. I have panic attacks about any change that is kind of, a little bit significant. And I every time we know we have one coming up, I always have to warn everybody, okay, be aware that we're going to have a period where everything goes boom, and then people come back. So like if we wanted to change the design of the website, I would have to warn everybody. It might be for the betterment, it might be because we're making a good choice, but I just would say, warn everybody, okay, there's going to be some shock over this. People are going to decide, it's too much change and they can't handle it. And maybe, we're going to lose some folks in this change, but we think it's for the best and that traffic will come back, but we just have to be aware that there's going to have to be this adjustment period. And it's true. I can show you how it's true through the numbers every single time. And it's just the way things work. So just that awareness of knowing that the changes you make will affect the business you have today. And that's not to say don't do it, but just make sure you're really communicating with the people that are already paying you money as you make those pivots. This brings me to another point that we haven't talked about, which is this concept of getting feedback from your clients.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean when I say that?
So ongoing feedback, how do you feel about our coaching sessions? Do you like the goals, but how are you with the goals that we're following right now? And feedback after the coaching relationship is done. Can I get a testimonial? Can I get a 5-star review on Google? You have to ask for these things though as a coach. You can't just assume that your client is going to be giving this to you. As a consumer, I'm pretty bad with that. I don't like really engaging. But if somebody asks me to do a survey or sends me an email, hey, can you rate such and such or like how our customer service was? I'll take the 2 minutes to do it. But I need to be asked first.
Agreed. And it's one of those things where we may not think about it, but taking a moment to send out a survey to your clients that says, hey, I've been having my office hours between this time and this time, but I'm thinking of changing them. Is there a better time that would serve you for me to have coaching hours? Or how does everybody feel about, how are we doing with our Zoom calls or how's scheduling with me? And just being willing to ask those sort of questions. A lot of times, yes, if it's really bad, at some point you're probably going to hear that it's really bad. But we don't want it to be so bad that people have to complain. But those little nuanced questions that you can just sort of float out to your people and just ask them can give you a lot of information on how to better serve them and being willing to do that.
Absolutely. But also every session, ending that session, what is your takeaway? Is that return on investment that they're buying into? You listen to the word choices they say, how they reflect what they picked up from that session, and you're going to get your feedback right there as well.
Well, and then I would ask, but also maybe being once the session is over, saying real quick, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. How have you felt about booking your sessions with me? Has everything gone smoothly with that? Or just asking, something around that that space that maybe isn't coaching related, but is technical related. The coach asking coaching in the coaching related space too, but it's all that reducing friction, right, along the way. And just finding out if there's any way that you can say, hey, is there any way that I could make this a smoother process for you with regard to, you know, anything that has to do with getting into this coaching space with me, whether that be payment, whether that be, you know, scheduling, whether that be rescheduling, anything like that. And yeah, a lot of times you're going to hear it. I will say, as a rule of thumb, if we get one big complaint about something, we can put it on the radar, start to really notice it, maybe look at it and see if we agree with it. But if we don't, we set it for a second. But then if we get another one, we really got to start paying attention to what's going on. That's kind of my rule of thumb. First one could be a fluke, but if you hear it more than once, you probably should start paying attention to it, even if it makes you frustrated to do that.
I kind of react on the first one, as we all know. And I start thinking, is this true? Is this something we need to look at? So whether it's the first one, it's the second one, it is something just to pay attention to and do your self-analysis. Is this really, does it just not meet this customer's needs? Or is it not meeting my customers as an overall? Overreaching? What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Let's. I'm gonna have to hop off here in a few minutes. So before we head out, what are some maybe like bonus, extra things that as a coach we can do? Maybe we haven't mentioned to really solidify that client solidarity, that client happiness.
I think if we're concerned about client happiness, and I'm taking this not really from my experience as a coach, but more so my experience at CLCI, is being flexible with solutions, being flexible with policy at times. Jen, you've probably seen me do this a couple of times where sometimes a client comes in with a really specific ask or really specific situation, and it's not something you've covered, and nor do you ever really think to cover. But if there's a unique problem, clients really appreciate it when you sit down, talk to them, and figure out a solution that works for them and also works for you as a business. And sometimes that's a compromise. Sometimes it's not really what you want entirely, and it's not entirely what the client wants, but it works, and they appreciate that personal connection.
I'll say for my and I had my clients' addresses, so this is possible, but there's ways to do without it. But as a bonus, when I had clients that were in my marketing business, I would always send them like a little, something, a little thank you card, a little something that was unique for them, or maybe just in general, I'd send something to everybody, maybe for Christmas or maybe during the holidays, or just a little something extra that was like, hey, this is just a way to say thank you for your business from me to you.
And in return, Brooke, Jerome, we had a client who sent us maple syrup.
Ooh,
Yes,
yeah.
we
It was
did.
very good maple syrup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and whiskey. And yeah,
and whiskey
it was fantastic.
from the same company, I think.
Yeah, and it was wonderful.
It was.
So that was just
So
like, I know
sometimes you get a gift.
It's kind of old school, but it's like that special touch that I don't know. I feel like sometimes those things set a business apart when you're willing to sort of give that little extra something. Like, I thought about you. I'm going to send you this little something. And it's harder to do the bigger your company gets, but when you've got a smaller amount of clients,
I get a Christmas card from Ryan Reynolds every year.
Very good.
So it can be done.
See?
Shout out to Mint Mobile.
I thought he sold it. He didn't sell it.
I don't know.
Anyway, the other thing that you can do that helps with the retention is offer packages. We've spoken about packages in the history of our lives, but those packages where you give incentives discounts. The clients appreciate the ability to have a discount. That's always helpful.
Or know that their future business will result in discounts versus like
Yeah.
paying full price or something. Bye, Brooke.
See you,
Brooke's
Brooke.
hopping off. We'll finish
Bye,
off
Brooke.
with Jen and Jerome.
You guys will do awesome.
Yes. Jen, Jerome,
Lisa
what are your
stole
little
mine. I was going to say providing discounts, especially for maybe a client that you've retained. And
Mhm.
it kind of ties into kind of what Anthony was speaking about. Maybe it's not your regular offering, but this is a client that's kind of spoken to you about, the times are tough right now. Being able to be flexible with some of your current price offerings with the client that you already have been coaching over time, I think is a really nice way to let them know that you care.
Mhm. Jen?
So I like the idea of being flexible after you've worked with a client so they can stay with you either if they have a new goal or if they want to do a maintenance program to where they continue to utilize your services, but maybe for a little bit of a different reason. Maybe it's not they're working towards something specific. Maybe it's like they want to just have that sounding board once a month and they know you're the perfect person to work with in that capacity. So kind of offering a little flexibility with those clients to keep them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that'll about wrap it up for Marketing 101. I don't know what our next 101 series will be.
I don't think any of us do at the moment.
Ooh, a mystery series.
It's a mystery one. We'll
Mystery
figure it out.
101.
Mystery
Yes.
101.
We should
But
do that. We should have a mystery series where we don't
That's
tell.
got to be around October,
people.
right?
we
That would
don't
be
tell,
really
we
fun.
don't even know what it is we're coming in with. We just talk until we find a subject. That might work. That's not really being consistent, which goes against the advice we just gave.
But it might be fun.
That would be fun. Thank you guys for checking in. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment. Sue, I'm glad we could help you through the storms
Yeah.
where you're at.
Stay safe, Sue.
Yeah, stay safe.
Be sure to take our classes. We go over marketing in depth on day 3 of Coaching 101 so that you can get your business started as a coach and find those clients. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.